We're coming into the second of the last round of the season, and this week we're in Australia for another race that should be an absolutely phenomenal spectacle. Mount Panorama requires a lot of respect and even more pinpoint accuracy from the driver behind the wheel. The last 2 weeks of the season cannot be dropped, so we're going to get an excellent idea for who's in with a shout of the championship before the season's end. Good day and welcome to the land down under, also known as Bathurst, which, as the name implies, is home to the Bathurst 1000 and the 12 hours of Bathurst. Austin Belke joined by John Hine in the booth with Daniel Costello behind the scenes in the production trailer. And John, this track is it's basically just like the Nürburgring, but only in the really fast, twisty bits where you can't really tell what's going on. And just like that, before you know it, you're back onto a nice part of the racetrack.
Yeah, and at least Nürburgring has a couple places where you got a little bit of runoff here, going up the hill, going down the hill. Not not a whole lot of room for air. It always kind of reminds me more of Monte Carlo, as tight as that is. But what a great venue and historic venue, obviously Bathurst 1000. And I'm ready to throw a shrimp on the Barbie and have a Foster's and watch this one.
Yeah, or a VB long neck. You never know what you're going to get out here. And John, I'm so glad you touched on that point as well, that this place races just like a street circuit, because pretty much wherever you go, there's walls on both sides of the track, with the exception of the first two and maybe the last two corners of the circuit. You can see some of the information on your screen. If you use Freedom units, the air is 65 degrees Fahrenheit. The track is a nice 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds at 10 miles an hour. You can see on your screen 18 degrees Celsius, 5% humidity. Pretty gusty here as well, John. Usually we're not used to seeing winds at this speed, but thankfully for a lot of these drivers, the track is pretty much inset between both the walls, so you shouldn't have too much problems with any wind coming at the back of the car providing lift with that giant rear wing that we see on most of these GT3 race cars.
No, you won't. And most of this is going to be braking and stuff like that. And some of these passing zones here too, that big wing is going to come in handy getting out of a couple of these corners, especially setting up these two longer straightaways here.
And just so you folks at home are aware, in case you're not, this is one of our sprint rounds. So we're going to have two very, very fast races. The first one is a 25-minute race, and then we basically have a chance to talk to the drivers, ask them how the cars are feeling, ask them what the track is like, kind of recap what's gone on for the day so far. We'll go ahead and touch on those championship points. Only 2 rounds left. We only have the 2 races today, and then the races next Tuesday as well. That should be one solid 75-minute race, but things continue to be up in the air. So we'll have a 25-minute race to start off tonight. A little bit of an intermission, but we'll keep you folks at home entertained the best we can. Hopefully we get a lot of drivers in here to talk to us and kind of debrief about their 25-minute sprint race. No pit stop required for this first one. For the second one, it's a 50-minute race. There is 1 required pit stop. These drivers are going to have to stop for fuel, so you should get a lot of different kind of feels from one race to the other. I'm really excited for this track. It's one of my all-time favorites, and boy, these guys at World Series Leagues, they just keep banging out phenomenal racetracks for us to go visit.
Yeah, these tracks, our great producer Daniel mentioned this just a few minutes ago off air about we're getting that too. We got just one more race after this one here, or 2 more after this, and man, starting to pull at the heartstrings. But for us, because we're going to miss calling these things with these drivers, the intensity on track, those little give and take moments, that's going to create more taking than giving as we get closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, it certainly will. These guys, I mean, the excitement is only going to continue to ramp up, is how I like to put it, because there's a lot of prizes on the line for these drivers. There's some pretty cool hardware they can win. There's some pretty cool team gear they can win as well. Of course, all thanks to our phenomenal sponsors. We'll just thank those right off the bat here, and then a little bit later as we get into tonight's feature. Race Anywhere, they're a huge distributor of sim racing products based in the United Kingdom, specializing in some of the highest sim racing brands such as ProSimView, GSI, OBP, and many more. And then go for the Gap. Cami Sturch is an up-and-coming graphic design and artwork creator. She runs an Etsy page over on that Etsy site. Of course, you can look her up. Just go to Etsy and then search for Go for the Gap. And then last but not least, IMB Racewear. They're a fantastic company that offers a huge range of bespoke, no limits, fully customizable race and teamwear. For a complete lineup of their product range, you can check out their website, which is linked in the description below.
The world of sim racing sure has come a long way. I just remember when, the wheels, that was about the only product out there. Now you got these sim seats, sim rigs, custom pedals. I know guys that have spent more on their sim rigs than I know guys out at the local racetrack putting in their own race cars. So crazy how much cool stuff we've got for sim racing now.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that a couple of years ago, I mean, just even pre-COVID, if you found somebody else that had like a racing wheel or even just a racing setup, it was like 1 in a million. And it was usually like, oh, it's no force feedback, and I just do it to, piddle around in Forza or something. But anymore, especially after COVID, you got people going out there and buying, $1,000 rig setups, making their own at home. They have the racing gloves now. They have little booties to go on their feet so they feel like they're inside of a real race car. I mean, look at Rich Calais. We talked about him. The man went out there and built his own little LMP2 cockpit with the foam and everything wrapping around on his seat. So it's always so cool to see what all the drivers are running.
100%. And that cockpit that he built was one of the coolest things I've seen. He could market that if he wanted to. But man, I tell you, yeah, it's come a long way. I mean, I think of my own evolution. I first started, got just a simple wheel, and then that was it, single monitor, and man, it just exploded. Now I've thousands of dollars in. But hey, we got a starting lineup here.
Yes, sir, we do. We'll start off with the pro category. All these are from the qualifying session that happened just about 15, 20 minutes ago. Ethan Bass lines up on pole with Kai Diel lining up to his outside. Kyle Boss is going to roll off in the third position, followed by Harry Wills in fourth, with Jeremy Littleton and Chase Wilson rounding out the last row of the pro category. In the Pro-Am field, it's Blake Scott who lines up on the pole, followed by Mark Scott to his outside, who lines up in the second position with old Richie K. Rich Calais in third, and Justin Rousseau in the fourth position. Looking behind those guys, the last row in the Pro-Am category, Shreyas Ventukaraju lines up next to Kyle Smith. And then moving on again to the Am category, Eli Sasick qualified himself on the pole with Aaron Beaver starting in second. Greg Brockway and John Casey complete row two for that field, with Matthew Plaisance rounding out the 5-car Am field. The pace car has already left the starting location. Soon it's going to make the hard left turn down pit road and then give way for the race to go underway. Ethan Bass leads that pro field. We are going to have a split start, so you're going to see the pro category go green, then the Pro-Am field, and then the Am field. We're going to try to cover all those, each into their own respect. So iRacing pace car off the track. Ethan Bass now has command of the field in his hands. He's waiting a long time until he wants to go green. Finally does so. A little bit of a slow start for the rest of that field. They're still extremely bunched together. He blew turn one completely. That's going to allow for Kyle Boss to go on through and the Mercedes. And watch this. Harry Wills is going to come with him as well. We'll now turn our attention, to the Pro-Am categories. They can now get ready to start their race. Two Scots on the front row. Looks like Blake is going to start the race. Another slow-looking start for these drivers as well. Not a whole lot of acceleration happening as you go down towards turn one. You're not getting a whole lot of speed. That whole start for the Pro-Am category looking very nice and orderly. As we now turn our attention to the Am field, Eli Sasick has command of this one. Slowly leading the cars towards that start line. Waiting for Barney the flagman to see them going and wave the green flag. Eli puts his foot on the love pedal. Lots of separation in these drivers. We'll see what Aaron Beaver can do around the outside, looking for an over-under. Not quite going to get enough traction off the corner. And with now all three of the field started, we'll go ahead and look at our pro category, who's just now starting their descent down the mountain. This is one of the most treacherous parts of the racetrack. If you thought going up was bad, wait till you go down, because now not only do you have corners covered up left, right, you're also going downhill. And John, it's a lot harder to stop when you're going down than it is when you're going up.
Yeah, your braking this change definitely going down that hill, but going up the hill not so bad. But when you get that momentum and gravity is doing its thing, man, oh man, that can create trouble.
So in the pro category, Kyle Boss, then Harry Wills, then Kai Diel. You can see this is them going through the kink. A very, very fast right-hander before they get ready. Hard braking zone into this left-hander here, followed by another right. And then after this, they only really have one more corner to complete their first lap.
Yeah, you'd think with all that extra space there, that'd be a good time to kind of relax and breathe after being, you know, in those close quarters, you know, wall on each side of the track, going up and down that mountain. But that part of the track is actually quite tricky too, so really no break to.
We're going to see a quick replay here. It sounded like Daniel told us that one driver had an accident. Shreyas Ventikaraju here. This is in the first couple of corners. This is heading down into turn 2. Oh, looks like he and Justin Rousseau got into it just a little bit. Backed that car into the wall. Not a whole lot of damage. Looked like he bent that rear wing just a touch. This is heading back into that turn 2 region. This is the pro category. Ethan Bass still in command of this race.
Just look how narrow that is in the racing line as they come through these corners here. So passing has got to be at a premium once again here.
I said this race, I mean this little grouping of cars here. Of course, Kyle Boss still in the lead for the pro category. And Ethan's got himself into a point right now, John, where he's got a decent amount of breathing room in front of the car, but he's got a lot of hungry hounds out the rear view of that thing. Another quick replay. Looks like it's Aaron Beaver racing against Eli Sasick. Oh man, too wide. John, it's really hard to go too wide at any place on this racetrack that isn't like the last corner and the first one. Oh man, that's a lot of damage to the rear end and the front end of that race car. And this is not a race where you can drop. And for Aaron Beaver, I feel like he just pushed the car a little bit too hard. He's probably going to wish he could have that one back. Oh!
Wow.
Yeah, trying to make his way around Greg Brockway. Somehow that car doesn't look as bad as I figured it would. And again, these drivers don't have any quick repairs. So what you get is what you got if you get that thing into the wall. Luckily, though, for Aaron Beaver, it seems like he's still got a lot of speed. And then Mercedes will see how much more he has left in after touching the wall for a third time, we'll call it, in that second incident. In the Pro-Am category here, looking at Kyle Smith and his white, red, and black BMW. He's the last car on the lead lap on track in the Pro-Am category, trying to see if he can hunt down Justin Rousseau in fourth.
Yeah, these guys have had spirited battles all season, actually. This division, this Pro-Am category, you know, I've just kind of been most entertained watching this group of folks here running at each other every week. They're usually pretty close together week to week and have had some really good finishes.
Yeah, that's one of the things I enjoy most about what the World Series League does for this league in particular is they get everybody driving the same equipment, but they split it up because they realize you're going to have some aliens in here, you're going to have some regular Joes in here that really can't quite measure up to the aliens and how fast they are. So they split it up into 3 fields, and in each of these 3 categories, you have some absolutely phenomenal racing, and it's 3 different winners, a lot more guys still going for gold and giving it all they have throughout the entirety of the race. And not just that, the invert that they'll have in the second round of these races really makes even the second race, the longer one, sometimes even more exciting than the 25-minute sprint race. You think these guys are in a hurry right now, watch what happens in about half an hour from right now. These guys are going to have to be back right up on the wheel, even more so than now, because if you're the fastest driver leading the race right now, you're going to line up dead last for that second race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't know how many times we've had fantastic finishes at the end of that second race. And you would think, being the shorter race, people would be closer together on that first one than the second one. But it's been actually the opposite. It's that second one. And maybe it has something to do with the invert, you know, having to work your way through. But I don't know what it is about that second one, but we've had some just finishes that have been totally bonkers.
Certainly have. Blake Scott up right now to a 3.6 second lead over Rich Calais. He's got Mark Scott just behind him. Rich always driving that brightly colored Lamborghini. See the focus in his eyes as he gets ready. You can tell what kind of corner he's coming up to, if it's left or it's right, given how he looks with his eyes and turns his head.
Yeah, he even moves those shoulders, so he's dancing around in that seat. And that's funny. I mean, that's what you do in real life. Between your feet, your hands. I mean, it literally is a dance, sitting there wheeling a car around the racetrack.
Can hear another check at the pro category. Still this little 3-car battle here. It looks like Ethan Bass has caught up to Kai Dial. He has gapped Jeremy Littleton by quite a large amount here. Hey, what, John? By the way this car is handling right now, I mean, he looks like he is absolutely on a rail. 2x2 battle here. Matthew Plaisance just went by John Casey. You can see those 2 Ferraris in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And just behind those guys is Aaron Beaver, so he is catching up to those 2 cars as well. But, John, back to Ethan Bass here. His car looks like it's running better and better as the race goes on, and I'm not sure if he has a long-run car. He was just really flustered at the start of this race. Of course, he qualified on the pole, so over a single lap, if everybody has their way, Ethan should be the fastest car around this track.
Yeah, and a couple of weeks ago, we watched Ethan win a race by just being patient and stalking guys and taking his time to get through the field. And this has a very similar look to it. I would not count that 54 car out.
Talk about 3 cars getting closer and closer. You could put a blanket here over these 3 cars in third, fourth, and fifth here. That's the Pro-Am category. That is Mark Scott, Justin Rizzo, and then Kyle Smith. Justin looking to the inside here. Oh, a little bit of argy-barginess, but could have been worse.
Yeah, and it cost a couple spots there. The elbows out, and here we go again.
Yeah, Kyle Smith here looking at a 2-for-1 around the outside of Justin Rizzo. We'll see if he can get it done. Tries to pinch him off on corner exit. Looks like he's going to get it there. Looks like Mark Scott might have a good shot at getting one of his spots back. Nah, he's going to think better of it.
I think he's a little worried about after that little hip check. I think he figures he's probably better off back there behind those 2 guys, and I'm not so sure he's not right.
John Casey just got passed by Aaron Beaver, so Aaron takes over the 3rd and final podium position in the AM category. We'll keep you abreast on Aaron's progress up through the field. He's got 2 seconds up to Matthew Plaisance. Both those drivers have an 8-second gap or more to Eli Sasek up the road as we keep our camera locked here on this battle in the Pro-Am category. Riding on board here with Mark Scott. Going up the hill, this place is so tricky, John. You basically have one line all the way up and down the hill, and if you hit it just right, you gain a lot of time. If you hit it wrong, you're probably going to do a lot more than hit the line wrong. You're going to hit the walls, you're probably going to bounce off some walls. It's a bad time.
It is, and that can really mess up any plans you have for a race, putting it into a barrier around here. And, I mean, just look how close. I mean, they're even close to the barriers in the center of the corner, coming out of the corners. Like I said, we talked about this off air. This is a track that I feel is above my pay grade. Very difficult going up and down that mountain.
Yeah, it certainly is. Like you were mentioning, you don't really have a whole lot of time to breathe over the course of the lap. This is probably the longest time that you're able to really kind of, pull yourself down. You're just at one with your thoughts here. Chase Wilson trying to get around Jeremy Littleton. This is for a top 5 in the pro category. Oh man, Jeremy Littleton really sideways coming off the turn 1 there.
Yeah, you got to grab a handful of steering wheel to get that right. It doesn't look like it killed his speed coming down this long straightaway here.
And again, this whole lower portion of the track, lots of straightaways here, and a long time to kind of compose yourself to get ready before you go up and then down the hill.
Almost looks like the end car there that Chase is smiling a little bit going down that straightaway. So he's having fun there, and oh man, I like he's got all kinds of things posted on the back of that.
Yeah, well, you got to remember too, all these guys, you know, this is a hobby for them. This is fun. It's
Yep.
fun to race with your friends, and all these guys in here are all past. That's one of the best thing about league racing is you have an opportunity to really know who your competitors are as you race with them week in and week out. There's a lot of trust and respect and friendships built in this whole thing, and this place is just, it's one of the most fun tracks you can possibly drive.
Yeah, and that in-car or that in-car shot there, that he had one poster there that said "Put your foot in it." That's my kind of driver. I like guys that can get up on the wheel there and get after it. And it's pretty good advice if you want to be a race car driver. Stand on it.
It certainly is. As I think Buck Baker said, he never lost his ride or his job while he was leading the race. The best way to do that is to put the throttle down. Mark Scott continues to be the caboose in this choo-choo train, as it were. In the 5th position, he's got Justin Rousseau and then Kyle Smith up the road as well. They continue to be extremely close. I wouldn't be too surprised here if Kyle Smith was able to pull away. Battle in the lower right-hand corner of your screen is the same one we were watching at this point 1 lap ago. Chase Wilson trying to chase down Jeremy Littleton and pass him. Battle. This is Harry Wills. He's got Kai DL and Ethan Boss. Looks like Harry might have had something happen to him to slow him down, because he was run down by these guys really quick, and this is not a place I want to go too wide. Kai DL paying for that. Not a whole lot of grip or banking out there on the wider part of the track, so move Ethan Bass up 1 position. We'll see if he can pass Harry here. Oh man, you can really start to see the rear end of that Mercedes, John, is starting to dance. And this is not a place where you want that rear end to be all over the place. You want that thing absolutely glued down to the track.
Absolutely, because as close as they're running to these walls on this mountain, yeah, you slide that back end 6 inches, 8 inches, you're gonna put her in the barrier there, real easy.
So Perry can continue to hold on to this 2nd position. Ethan can steal it away from him. Harry has been one of the fastest cars all season long, but sometimes just the setup on this Mercedes, it turns evil on him in a hurry. And he's shown he's probably got the most talent in the entire field of dirt track in it. Out there just controlling that drift. Here's an onboard with Harry. You can see his triples out there. So we'll see if we can see him working on the wheel just how much he's having to put counter steer into it when he makes his fast right-hander here. And then it's hard on the brakes with his left-hander. See him looking over the side. Steering the car over. Fast right-hander here. Checking his mirror. You can see that Ethan is right up there. He's absolutely underneath that rear wing of Harry's.
Harry's smart though, he's looking out the front windshield, not that backward.
Aaron Beaver just made a pass on Matthew Plaisance to move his machine up into the 2nd position in the AM category. So move Matthew Plaisance now back on the last step of the podium. We'll see if Aaron Beaver can catch up to Eli Sassett before this race is over. I'll be really curious to see if that is going to happen. Ethan did qualify on the pole, so if everything shakes out how it should be the fastest car in that category. But again, just like we're seeing with Harry, qualify really well, but if your car doesn't continue to work with you throughout the rest of the race, you might be hurt for certain before it's over.
Yeah, it's not just the car though, but driver error here is just not making a mistake. We saw Beaver make that mistake early on, and now he's having to pay for it because he's having to work his way back around cars that he's obviously faster in. So, I mean, we're talking, we've got about a little less than 10 minutes to go here, and he's got 10 minutes and he's almost 11 seconds back.
Quick replay here. Matthew Plaisance getting passed by Aaron Beaver. Let's see how it happened. Oh, Plaisance just lost the rear end of the car. A little bit of a lazy spin. Really easy to do there, Johnny. Every fiber of your being wants to be as tight to that wall the entire way around the corner, but if you don't open up the wheel, that's just what can happen. And now you can tell Harry Wills really has Ethan Bass in his head. He's starting to move over and he's sniffing that draft.
Yeah, and you're talking about wanting to hold it tight to the wall. The one thing about holding it tight to the wall up there where he had that problem is that's the fast way around.
Oh boy, Ethan driving defensive, or not, Ethan, excuse me. Ethan looking to go on the offense. Harry taking a defensive line there, trying to cover off that shot down to the inside if Ethan so choose to take it. Ethan's still down there, kind of looking for it. And Daniel, you folks at home, this might not be the most professional shot, but when we go up the hill, I would love it if we could have a chase cam on Harry Wills. You'll see just how close he gets to either end of the track. I mean, there is inches to the side of these race cars when you go up there, literally millimeters. If you were to go one way to the left or to the right for some of these corners, you'd have the car in the wall. And once you do that, these things are not very robust. They are quite
Here we
dangerous.
go.
Taking a move to the outside. This is what Kai DL did 2 laps ago. It didn't work out well for him.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, Bass has got to be careful because Kai DL is looking all as close as what Bass is to Wills. DL is now getting as close up to Bass, so he's going to have to play offensive defense now here probably for this last bit of this race.
Yeah, Daniel, this one is great, but if we could go to the one that's actually called rear chase, unless you might have changed the cameras, I understand. Very unrealistic view of the car, but you do get a true sense of like the fact that there are legitimately 2 inches from the end plate of that rear wing over to the wall. These guys have to be absolutely millimeter perfect as you go up and down the hill. That's just the commitment it takes, and these guys have to do it lap after lap after lap.
And for Harry Wills, let's just be honest, that is hard to do when you got someone all over the back of you to stay focused like that.
Going to take a quick look at a replay here. Justin Ritstow going to have Mark Scott behind him. Oh, a little bit of argy-bargy there as a push, but
yeah, he had a little help there, and I'm sure Justin Ritstow is not a happy camper. There's those Christmas cards. That's one less Christmas card I think is going to get exchanged.
Yeah, Harry Wills a little bit off in the sand there. Really hurt his traction up off the corner. That's going to allow for Ethan to get to the outside, but Harry's going to have the inside. He's going to hold the position for right now. And John, you said it. I couldn't have said it any better. Kai DL is hungry for that last spot on the podium as well. He's going to have to be careful.
Yeah, if he tries something and it doesn't work out, DL's got to pounce. And look at them weave. All right, we're playing games at 160 mile an hour right here, and that is awesome to see. These guys are really, really going for it here.
There's about 6 minutes left in this race. We should have another 3 laps or so. So it's not do or die right now for Ethan, but I tell you what, it just really sucks being held up behind somebody at a place like Bathurst because you so totally want to go at your own pace. This is Matthew Plaisance, I see just disconnected from the server. So we're going to see why right here. Oh, so easy to do that, just carrying a little bit too much speed down the hill and too far to the right.
If I had a dime for every time that I've done that in that same spot, I could probably buy a nice hefty share of IMB. Let's put it that way.
Well, I could probably buy one of these race cars in real life, if not just retire. It is so easy to do that at this place. Oh, man, Harry Wills
just popped the
handful
wall.
of opposite lock there.
Oh, yeah, he is dancing all over here, and but he's holding on.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job of making sure he gets good runs off these corners where Ethan has an opportunity to put it too wide. We'll see if Ethan has a good run here down the hill. The best thing that Harry has going for him right now is that insurance policy behind Ethan, and that's Kai DL. Ethan again looking to the outside. I don't think he got the call there. We'll see if he can cross him over. If he can cross him over again, single file, he's going to get a much better run off that corner, but I don't think he's quite close enough to really mount a genuine challenge here.
Oh, now he
pulled
up.
Shoved the car up there on the outside. Really good job on his part, but Harry Wills just much better at getting that good car, a good run off the corner. And
look at DL.
IDL.
That'll open the door for DL to get to his inside as they go into turn 1.
And Kai DL going to make off like a bandit side by side. They were touching there. I think Kai did his absolute best to leave Ethan maybe about 9.5 tenths of the car.
And that's what we touched on earlier. If you try something that doesn't work out, he was kind of pounced, and that's exactly what happened here. I don't think they're done jockeying back there.
Oh, Ethan Bass almost put his car into the wall there on the left side of the track in turn 2.
Yeah, and that's going to bring these other guys into it too, with these guys horsing around here. That car, I was kind of curious if he, because man, the attitude of that car going into that corner down there, that, what was it, 3 or whatever that is, at the end of that long stretch, boy, that sure had a look if he wasn't going to make that corner. So I'm still unsure how he made it, but he did.
I probably just a lot of luck and a lot of talent that these guys have. Here's a look at Blake Scott, currently your leader in the Pro-Am category, about by 9.2 seconds over Rich Calais. I'll be really interested here, John, in the Pro category to see if Kai DL can get up to his Twisted Racing teammate there and pass Harry Wills for that second position. I think he's just as fast as Ethan Bass. This is a look at what Ethan did. This is going down into turn 2. He's got to take a look here up the outside, and this is not a place where you want to be too wide. As soon as you get past that straightaway there, you don't want to be too wide. You can see just runs out of track, runs out of banking.
Man, that is a great shot, Daniel. Oh my gosh. I didn't think he was going to make it, and that confirmed my suspicions. That car had hair, it'd be missing the side.
Yeah, getting the side force off that race car, helping you stay out of the wall. If that were a NASCAR Cup car, just ripping the lip on the high side. Eli Sasek here in the M category. He's got a 16.3 second lead over Aaron Beaver. That is hard to consider in my mind that he is out there just dominating this race.
Yeah, well, keep in mind there was some chaos there early on in that field, though, you know, with Beaver having that issue right off the bat, and Plaisance is, you know, the other driver that's been dominant in there, had that big issue. Of course, is already out of the sprint race, so yeah, a little bit of opportunity. We're working now. I mean, coming up on a minute to go. I got a feeling now the white flag. I don't know if it's already come out or if it's going to come out this lap.
Should come out next time by. Kyle Bosch should take the white flag in about a minute or so. Harry Wills continues to, that rear end of that Mercedes is all over the racetrack. Kai DL is on him right now, and now Kai DL gets to find out what it was like when he was pressuring Ethan as Ethan tried to pass Harry. And Daniel commented on it, maybe you, John, did a couple minutes ago, but there's this another group of cars here. Chase Wilson, Jeremy Littleton, they continue to get closer and closer to these guys as well. So if they do mess up or do something bad enough to lose 2.5 seconds worth of time, it's going to be a group of 5 cars instead of just 3 and 2.
Man, that car, Harry's car, is just dancing. I don't know how he's not fencing it. You know.
And oh, by the way, just up the road from these guys, Greg Brockway, the last car on track in the M categories. These guys are going to have some lap traffic to go through. I feel like they're going to catch him into turn 1. We'll see what Greg does here.
Yeah, and I hate to say this because, I mean, we've seen a lot of great driving over the season, but I think this drive right now from Wills, the way that car is moving around, is probably the best drive that I've seen.
Oh, Ethan Bass, a late shot in the final corner. Thought better of it. Doesn't get a good enough run. White flag is in the air. This is a last opportunity for these drivers. Quick replay here. Aaron Beaver loses a lot of time here. It's so easy to just go a little bit wide. That's one corner where you feel like you can really push the car and dive in there and carry more speed and gain some time, but it's so easy to just overstep the bounds of grip.
Yeah, and as you're making your way down that long stretch there too, the corner looks like you can take it a lot quicker than what you actually can, and once you get up to it, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This corner is a little sharper than it appears upon approach.
Oh, Harry Wills super loose there off the last corner. Unfortunate for Kai DL. This, again, not a place where you can go too wide, but I think he's going to start counting his lucky stars there that he's been waiting for it and just waiting for this real opportune moment. I think he's going to take it as they go down the hill. He's going to have to try something. I think he's going to run out of patience.
Well, they're teammates, so I can't imagine that one would put another in a tough situation, you know. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do if you're racing a teammate, is take one out or take both cars out. So you tend not to put your your teammate in bad positions here.
Well, usually you don't, but you see it all the time in real life racing where
You do.
sometimes, there's money, prizes on the line at the end of this
Pride.
championship, John. There's some hardware to be had.
There is, and there's some pride. I mean, to me, that's always been the biggest motivator for me racing is, I mean, I have a teammate, Steven Spees, and I tell you, I can handle losing to other people, but man, losing to him, that just gets me.
Kyle Boss takes the checkered flag here at Bathurst, and if we can get another camera look at this second spot here, we're probably going to get a replay because this is some awesome stuff. Kai Diel's going to take the second position here. Drag race to the line to see who finishes on the last spot of the podium. Looks like it's going to be Harry Wills by a foot.
Oh, man, one more lap. Look at those other two cars.
Yeah,
they closed up big time.
Oh, yeah, they were gaining in a hurry. Here is Blake Scott, the first car to cross the start-finish line in the Pro-Am category. He's going to win the race. And an additional 11 seconds behind, we should see Rich Calais. Yeah, brightly colored Lamborghini comes out of the final corner to take second spot. And how about Kyle Smith? He's going to cross the start-finish line in the third position. Well, usually these drivers like to do what's called the send it there. We might be able to see a couple of drivers do that instead of just heading into the wall at turn one. Usually for a lot of drivers, it's tradition to, on your final lap here, the cool down lap at Bathurst, when you go down the hill, instead of that fast right-hander, the kink, you just go straight, hold the wheel straight, and take that jump. Aaron Beaver here. You're going to see what we're talking about. He will stay on the track, though, because he's still got a race to win. It's hard to believe. What happened to Eli Sasek? He was in the lead of this race. Oh, he went in the pits last lap, we're getting word of.
Oh, that's a tough break. Shorted the fuel, I'm guessing, but yeah, here we go. Aaron Beaver, what an eventful race he's had. He comes out of the final corner here to take the checkered flag. He's going to win the AM category, but did not come without some drama. He's able to take it home here. And Eli Sasek is going to finish second after leading most of this race here for the AM category.
Yeah, won the pole. You can see pretty devastated look there on Eli's face. This race was pretty much all his. Oh wow, Kyle Boss stuck the landing. I don't know if we can get a replay of that, Daniel. That's impressive. On his cool down lap jump. And with that, we'll see if we can't get some race standings, final standings on your screen. We'll see if any of the drivers want to come up and talk to us. Boy, that was impressive. And talk about that run there as well, John, for Aaron Beaver. That was crazy. He went from, he qualified second, went down to last on the opening lap, and then went to second, back to last, and then first before the end. Pretty incredible stuff from that man. Kyle Boss wins the race for the pro category, completing the podium. Kai Diel, a fantastic battle there that we saw at the end of the race. Harry Wills rounds out the podium with Ethan Bass fourth, Chase Wilson fifth, and Jeremy Littleton in the sixth position. Blake Scott comes home the victor in the Pro-Am category with Rich Calais in the second position. Kyle Smith rounds out the podium for that class with Mark Scott in fourth, Justin Rousseau, and then Tres Venticaraju. I don't think he's going to score points for this one. That was very unfortunate to see he and Justin get into it there on the opening couple laps there going into turn one. In the M category, Aaron Beaver does quite the upset, beats Eli Sasek there. Eli comes home in the second position. John Casey in third with Greg Brockway fourth, and Matthew Plaisance. Another hard race there for Matthew. He'll come home in fifth to round out the AM category. Looks like we have Kyle Boss here with us. Kyle, man, did a phenomenal job, qualified this race. You didn't start on the pole. You started in third, but it looked like the seas just parted for you there on lap one.
Yeah, a little unlucky for Ethan there, just overcooking the corner a bit. But, no, after that, it was just mainly keeping my head down and not pushing too hard because this track loves to bite you back. So once I kind of got out of draft reins, I was just kind of cruising and focusing on my exits as much as possible, and really just trying to secure it because I know just one that, like you said, there's no runoff here. Yeah, one little error and it's pretty much the race is over. So no,
Yeah.
very happy with the result.
No, you did a phenomenal job. And what was, the start of the race, you had to be on it to make sure that nobody could keep up with you. Like you were saying, as soon as you kind of broke that draft space, you were okay. But talk about to the emotions of once you knew Harry Wills, I mean, he was kind of falling off the second half of that race. And I'm sure you saw in your relative, you didn't need to push as hard anymore to pull away from him.
No, at that point it was a good relief because I know there's a couple problem areas that are just when you're under pressure or if you're in draft are just really terrifying. Clean air in this track is so important. So once I was able to clear pole maybe a few laps in, it was a good weight off the shoulders, and it was just mainly don't ego it, don't try to push too hard, just get it home and get the points.
Just looking here to replay of what you did on the cool down lap once again, keeping with tradition. You surprisingly enough, you stuck the landing there, but I gotta ask before we let you go, who makes all this stuff possible?
Absolutely, everyone on Celeritas Sim Racing, IMB Racewear, Go for the Gap. All you guys, can't thank you guys enough. Can't thank my buddies, of course, who are always in the chat, rooting the team on. So yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, and well, congratulations, Kyle. Thank you for your time as well.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That was Kyle Boss, comes home the victor in the pro category. And John, I think you have the opportunity to talk to another driver here. Take your pick.
Well, we can go with well, we'll go with Eli Sasek here. I see him here, and Eli, this is John up in the booth. You had a nice, solid race here. What did you learn in this one that you can take to the next one?
Not to underfield the car by half a lap.
Yeah, heartbreaking on that. You had the race, but I mean, when you're out front leading like that, were you able to learn anything? Because now you're going to take the invert and have to work your way around a couple cars. So was there a whole lot of data that you could get from being out there leading like that?
I think the main thing is it's very difficult to pass throughout the entire hill section. Because I mean, Aaron tried to pass me on the first lap through one of the turns after I made a mistake, and it did not end up very well for him. So I think generally the only places that I should be at least trying to attempt to pass are just on the straightaways, long straightaways at the end and the start of the lap. So generally it's a long race. There's no need to take risks in the hill regardless. So I think that's something that I kind of learned, but also kind of figured before the race even began as well.
Well, you're going to start now a little bit further back. Like I said, what is going to be your strategy to attack here in this next race?
I think try and pick off as many cars as possible, at least in the start, or like turn 1 or turn 2. If that doesn't go the way I want it, or even does go the way I want it, patience is a virtue, especially here. So I really just need to be patient and stick to what I know is best, and just try not to be over aggressive. It's just patience is the key.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, who would you like to give a shout out to for making all this possible for you?
Twisted, they help a lot and got me in here, so I mean that's definitely help. And then I think another one is just everybody who runs the race, and then my grandparents who watch. So a very special at least to run here. It's very fun. So yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, we will keep an eye on you on that opening lap in this next race. Best of luck, and I hope we talk to you again.
All right, thank you.
It's Eli Sasek, runner up there, and who have you caught up with?
Yeah, I got Rich Calais. Rich, a strong run for you there, man. Second position, not too bad. Talk me through the race.
Yeah, not too bad. Pretty uneventful after the first lap. Just kept it clean. Realized I was kind of just taking a Sunday drive for a little bit. I was letting whoever was in third place get a little too close, and then I kind of woke up and started putting in some better lap times. But yeah, kept it out of the wall, which is a big plus here.
It certainly is. I mean, just talk to me about how hard it is for 25 minutes. You're going to have to get ready to do it for 50 to bring that car around here. I mean, you have to get within inches of the wall on both sides of the car just to make sure you put in a competitive lap time.
Yeah, definitely. It's basically about using as much of the track as you can. There's little nooks that you can kind of sneak out on. Obviously, the inside curbs, and with us, many of the cars being left-hand drive, those right turns where you got to get close to the wall can be kind of sketchy sometimes, especially coming over the top at Skyline, because you're not even focused on that right wall. You're just trying to focus on finding that inside curb there to, or at least for me, a braking marker. But there was a couple of white knuckle moments going over Skyline for sure.
Well, I can imagine. To be honest with you, the last 2 years, the endurance team I race with, Western PA, we have tried to run the Lamborghini at this racetrack because one of our team members really just loves the car. But I absolutely can't stand it because I can't see anything of the hood. I don't know where anything is outside the car. How do you come to grips with that? Why don't you wreck is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, the Lamborghini has just kind of fallen off a little bit. It just hasn't been the same since week one. But we're here. We're still fighting. As far as not crashing, to be honest with you, I don't know. Just lucky, I guess. Trying to do the same thing every time, find something that works. It's obviously a little bit. It's a little bit easier when you're running alone. It's kind of just like hot lapping, basically. But it's really just teetering on that fine line of you're in a wall versus quick lap times.
Certainly. Well, Rich, before I let you go, I got to ask, who do you want to thank?
Shout out to my dad this time. He was a little bit jealous that I shouted out my mom at Mother's Day. So I'm going to go ahead and give Papa Rich a shout out.
Heck yeah, you love to see it. Papa Rich doing a great way, raised a hell of a son, man.
Hell yeah.
Rich, congratulations on your P2. Hopefully we have another opportunity to talk to you in about an hour's time.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks, guys.
That was Rich Calais, driving the number 76 Lamborghini, very brightly colored. Always nice to see him up in the booth. And it looks like we've got one more replay here, Daniel. Is that right? All right, we're going to take a quick look at that. Ray Brockway. Let's see if he can follow up the perfect execution that Kyle Boss had. That was really close. Even closer than Kyle's. I didn't think you'd get closer than that. And sticks the landing. Even the Russian judge is impressed.
Yeah, when I see that reminds me of Lernerville on the dirt. We hit the turn 3 and 4 there. And it's always a contest to see who can clear the billboards. It's kind of fun, actually.
That track is extremely treacherous. Well, we're going to take about a 3 or 4 minute break here before we come back for our 50-minute race. Join us then. Welcome back to the World Series Leagues. We're here, like I mentioned, second to last round of the season. That, of course, brings us to the land down under Australia. We're still here after our 4-minute break, now getting ready for our 50-minute race. There is one mandatory pit stop involved. John, if last race was anything to go off of, this one should be especially awesome.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we saw some great battles come right down to the wire. So, you know, and like I said, for some reason, I think it's got to be the invert. These second races usually are a little bit more eventful. And you heard Eli Sasek talk about it. Best chance to pass, this, he feels, is right on the start. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of a chaotic start here.
I think so. We're going to take a look here at the championship points coming into tonight. This does not take into account the race that we just saw. Harry Wills comes into this night as the points leader, 11 points over Kyle Boss. Kai Dale third, Ethan Bass fourth, Chase Wilson fifth, Jeremy Littleton in sixth. Changing our attention now to the Pro-Am category. Blake Scott comes into tonight with a 3-point lead over Rich Calais, with Justin Risto rounding out the podium. Good to see Mark Scott and Kyle Smith in there. Shreyas Ventukaraju, unfortunately, of the 6 drivers here tonight, with the worst start there. Hopefully he does a lot better in this second going for the 50-minute race. Now looking at the AM category standings. Aaron Beaver comes in tonight with an 8-point lead over Matthew Plaisance. That should be a lot larger, with Beaver winning the 25-minute race and Plaisance leaving a little bit early after an accident for him on the mountain. John Casey rounds out the podium with Greg Brockway in 4th and Rick Swan in 5th. So now, John, these drivers have a good opportunity, if they would like to make some adjustments to their race cars, but there isn't a whole lot you can do to tweak it for handling and then come back out here, especially considering if you get it wrong now, you're going to have to deal with it for 50 minutes instead of just the regular 25 like we saw before.
And this is not a track you want to get it wrong on. But, yeah, the fuel thing, and then this is going to be, big wreck there. But yeah, the second one, you know, you're going to have a little heavier, I suppose, fuel load, and you're going to have to make a pit stop, which is also a big part of the strategy here. So a lot of different things are going to be at play here, and it always makes exciting racing for the second of the 2 events we usually cover every Wednesday night here.
It certainly does. I'll be really interested to see what drivers pull out of the hat in terms of tricks in their toolbox when they come down pit road. If they want to pit early, maybe if they want to pit late, maybe underfuel the car just to save yourself a couple crucial seconds as the race goes on. A lot of opportunities here to kind of just lift and coast into some of the corners just to make sure maybe you save a little bit of extra fuel. You also go in there a little bit slower. It can kind of give you just a touch more security when you go into some of these corners, because as we've talked about all night, and I'm going to continue to cover this because it's so incredible, just the persistence and the perfection you need to be here. If you ever have a chance and you haven't done the Bathurst 1000 or even the 12 hours of Bathurst, it's one of the races you should have on your bucket list. I did the Bathurst 1000 once, and proud to say my co-driver and I only got 1X. Extremely tricky to do. Or only hit the wall once, I should say. Got a lot of X's because, you know, it's Bathurst, man. Crazy stuff happens.
I was going to say 1X, that's impressive, but even hitting the wall just once is impressive. I haven't run either one of those here, but I've taken plenty of laps here. And yeah, the walls have my number at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, I think they have everybody's number. Unfortunately, everybody, even the best of the best here, can sometimes have an accident. All it takes is just a momentary lapse in concentration is enough to put even the fast guys into the wall one way or another. But with that, it looks like our 10-minute practice time for the drivers is up. So hopefully for their sakes, everybody is in, loaded to the session, and ready to go. The grid for this race is set by a complete inversion of the field for how they finished in the last one. So you look there, Jeremy Littleton last in the first race, lining up first in the second. Kyle Busch first in the first race, starting last in the second race. So Jeremy Littleton starts on pole with Chase Wilson in the 6th position. Ethan Bass qualified on pole for the last race. We'll see if he continues to have a lot of speed in that Ford. Harry Wheels rolls off in 4th. Hopefully for his sake, his tires stay in the car, especially on that rear axle, a lot better than they did in the 25-minute sprint, with Kai DL and Kyle Boss completing the last row for the Pro category. In the Pro-Am field, Justin Rousseau finished last. In the first race, he'll start first. In the second one, he's got Mark Scott in second to his side. Rich Calais rolls off in third, with Blake Scott rolling off in the 4th position. And then Kyle Smith rounds out the top 5, Matthew Plaisance sits on pole, ran just enough laps to get those points and be starting in first here for the second race. Greg Brockway rolls off in second. John Casey in third. Eli Sasek in 4th. Hopefully for his sake, he's got enough fuel to finish the race the first go around. And Aaron Beaver rounds out that 5-car field here for the AM category. iRacing pace car has just now jumped off the racing line. And now we'll watch Jeremy Littleton bring the Pro category out the final turn. It's his discretion when he wants to start this race. It's all up to him. Finally puts his foot on the loud pedal. A little bit of a commotion there going on with Kai DL on the last row. He'll easily be able to put himself into the first position. He's got Chase Wilson, though, hot on his heels just behind him. Side-by-side racing as they go further and further towards turn 1. That's Kyle Boss in the Mercedes, Kai DL in the Lamborghini. Looking at the Pro category, another smooth start for them. Catching me off guard. These guys lining up a lot closer together from one field to the next. And last but not least, in the AM category, Matthew Plaisance has control of the field as he leads them further and further to the start line. He's got Greg Brockway lined up next to him. Puts his foot on the loud pedal. Really good start there from Mr. Plaisance. Easily in the first position as they head down to the first corner. All single file almost. There they are for just a split second. Single filed out. Very, very clean start for all 3 of the fields here. Looking now at the Pro category as they continue their... Oh, Justin Rousseau hard in the outside wall. I think he lost his wing too. That's what's laying on the ground. He's going to have to get that car moving before the AM category comes. Looks like he's elected to tow. This is the Pro category as they crest the hill and now come back down. And I'm especially curious to see just what Ethan Bass can do after qualifying on the pole. Not quite having the first lap to put it together to win that race. That's what really allowed, in my opinion, Kyle Boss to get a good run and just check out from the field. I feel like Ethan definitely had the car to beat in that race. We'll see if he continues to in this race as well.
Kai DL here is getting a pretty good tow, and that's, you got to be careful coming into this section. If you get a tow, you're going to go in there with more speed than what you're accustomed to. There you go. I was talking about it right as it happened.
Oh boy, that is not what you want to see there. That was Kai DL going for a little bit of a slide. See if you can get that car fired and pointed in the right direction. Shouldn't have a whole lot of damage as now the Pro-Am field comes into shot. Kai continues to sit there unmoved. Looks like he might have gotten that car rolling in the right direction there. So Rich Calais right in that second spot. This is where he finished the last race. So hopefully for himself looking to finish one spot better than that. Oh, Jeremy Littleton went off there. Looks like going into turn 1. So Kai not going down pit road. Doesn't have a whole lot of damage on that car, at least if he feels. It didn't look very damaged either. It's Matthew Plaisance in the second position. He started the race in first. Just up the road from him. Trying to get a good view of who that is. Oh, Eli Sasek. So Eli has retaken the lead here in the AM category.
Of course, Eli had that race earlier, won, and had to take a pit because left himself a little short on the fuel, so he's looking for a little redemption here in the second race.
Yeah, especially with how close he was to winning that. I mean, like a 16-second lead there over the field. Ethan Bass now hot on the heels of Chase Wilson with that little bit of a slip-up we saw from Jeremy Littleton. And on the right side of your screen, Blake Scott leading a pack of, Mark Scott, excuse me, leading a pack of Hungry Hounds. Currently the camera's focused in on Blake.
You know, and again, when you see Ethan Bass are tucked up underneath the rear wing there, and got to be careful not to overdrive these corners because you're getting that toe, and also all that downforce is coming off your nose. So even turning in can be a little difficult, but he navigates it, gets it through there.
Well, it looks like Rich Leg gets through. He should be in the lead now in the Pro-Am category. Oh, side by side there, just a little bit argy-barginess perhaps. The two Scots versus Rich Calais. He was through for first. Now he's getting a little bit slot bet there into the third position. See if he can mount a challenge here. And look at Kyle Smith just taking advantage. He's doing a really good job today, just being there when it matters.
These guys, I mean, you got what, 4 deep there. They're under a blanket. So this is going to come down to a race that, okay, you can't make a mistake, because if you make that mistake, you're going to go from leading all the way back, and you're going to lose this group altogether. So this is really intense for these guys, because they've got no room for error.
Now, I mean, really, there isn't any room for error around the entirety of the racetrack. But right now, if you make enough of a bad decision or a bad move as you go up the hill, you're going to take out the entirety of the back behind you.
Yeah,
One thing, you ruin your own race, but when you ruin someone else's as well, that's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, and there's a difference between making a driver error, you know, no room for error, you know, with the walls, but there's also no room for error about somebody getting by you and open the door, and next thing you know, you're offline, and then you're losing spots. So not only are you trying to be precise, as you said earlier, with the car, inches off the wall on both sides of the car, you're also making sure you've got to hit your marks where somebody can't get their nose in there and get you up out of the racing line.
Look, and here Rich Calais falling all the way back into the 4th position. He was running in 2nd spot, chomping at the bit there for the lead just a couple minutes ago. We'll see if he can mount some sort of a challenge. There are some options, though, John, that he'll have. He can go for the undercut if he would like. That should be something that could come into play, I would say, in about 20 minutes' time or so.
Yes, I'll be interested to see if anybody does to try that undercut.
Going to look at a quick replay here at an overtake. Oh, sorry, that was it. Yeah, the two cars look so similar there. Blake Scott going past Mark Scott. Thank you, Daniel. There is a replay, though. We're getting word. All right. Kai DL here. This is his Twisted Racing Lamborghini. Let's see what happens to Kai as he goes up the hill. Ooh, lazy spin there. We'll see if he keeps it off the wall. Did a great job keeping it off the wall, but it is so hard to turn that car around, and he must have figured he had some damage on that Lamborghini, so he toes to pit road.
Well, you've referred to it before as the Austin Powers turnaround, where, you know, 1 inch forward, 2 inches back, 1 inch forward, another 2 inches back to get turned around. So to get turned around takes a while, and you don't want to be sitting sideways when the field comes through of another class.
No, it doesn't take much to completely block the entire track, especially at a place like Bathurst. So now you want to make sure you get out of there as fast as possible. That's what we saw Kai do. He does still have the opportunity, though, if he so chooses, to come back out on the racetrack and run for points. These drivers need to complete at least 50% of the leader's race distance in laps to score points. Whoa, Mark Scott clearly did a good job of hanging on to that thing. He'll lose 1 spot there to Kyle Smith. I cannot express enough how close he was to putting that car on the wall. 99 times out of 100, when somebody makes that move right there, they're going to slam into, if not the wall on the left, they're going to go head first into the wall on the right. There's a replay here. Matthew Plaisance and his Ferrari. Yep, going a little bit wide there. If he doesn't overcorrect the car and slam, wow, that's impressive.
That sure was. That is impressive. I think that's one of those 99 times scenarios you were just talking about also.
Well, now I know where all my luck goes in that corner, because I've probably done that 300 times, and I've never saved the car once, and that's probably why. Ooh, Rich Calais going a little bit wide there. Mark Scott here for the 3rd position. Mark's all over his rear bumper. And Rich Calais there, you can see just how intent he is on trying to keep that position just by the composure of his forehead. Look at those eyes. You can just barely see them. And how about the eyebrows, too? You can tell a lot about what a race car driver is thinking, especially what they're doing by looking just at their eyebrows. Most exclusively, though, the left eyebrow. For us, it's on the right side, but it's his left eyebrow. That's what's doing most of the work there for him.
See, that's a good way to... That's a good way to hide the traction control devices.
Yeah, if you can't put them under the dash, maybe just move the entire camera up a little bit higher. We love Rich. We just like to give him a hard time, especially if the camera goes a little bit wrong. Mine does that all the time as well, and Daniel is quick to remind me. So it's nice to be on this side, isn't it? For me, anyways.
Yeah. For
Ethan
you.
Bass continues to chase down Chase Wilson there. That's that white BMW. That's Chase. He's in the lead. Ethan was the fastest qualifier for the first race, so you definitely tell he's the faster car. But boy, John, you talk about it. Ethan does a really good job of just being patient and being consistent, especially in these long races. He's won a couple like that.
He has, and he is really, really good at just stalking whoever he needs to get around. But let's take a look here at Matthew Plaisance. And I guess he's going to try 2 for 2. Let's see if we can see another save here. No.
No, yep, that's the other 99 times out of 100. Unfortunately for Matthew, that is day done. There's not a whole lot you can do after that wreck right there.
Yeah, that makes him 0 for 2 for the races tonight.
Oh, Kyle Boss here racing with Harry Wills. Kyle, again, was the winner of the last race. Harry Wills' tires really fell off towards the end, so it's only a matter of time, and this is just about when Harry started to kind of slip back down the field. Looks like Kyle is going to get through. Shouldn't be too long before we see him up there on the tail end of the pass at the front end of the pro category field.
And man, these guys, I'm still just amazed at a couple of saves we see with the absolute skill it takes to put these cars perfect. These guys will just keep on doing it.
I'm curious to see if Kyle can pull away here from Harry. Harry might be doing a good job as well of kind of recognizing the fact that his car was extremely loose there after the first 25-minute race, and kind of realizing if I want to have good speed throughout the run, I need to be very ginger, especially on the throttle.
Yeah, he had a hard time that first one holding on. I was surprised they actually made it to the end the way that car was sliding around.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed here. He was wheeling that thing, doing opposite lock one way and then the other. Ethan Bass continues to the hound right now, Chase Wilson. You can see that's the gap between the first pack of 2 cars and the second pack of 2 cars. About 3 seconds between one to the other. Kyle Boss continues to inch closer and closer. Was really close there. Those cars are absolutely using up all the track that you can, and that's one way to find speed. But again, there's that fine line, because if you go a little bit too far, that's how you end up in the grass on the right-hand side of the track.
Yeah, it's amazing just watching those guys. I kind of bit my tongue there just to watch these guys navigate that and do it so closely together, and still just perfect through there. And they're going to head back up the mountain here, and looks like they're going to play a little cat and mouse down this long front stretch here.
Yeah, Daniel, if we can, why don't we ride on board here with Kyle Boss and kind of narrate you folks at home through a lap. This place requires 100% commitment. Not saying that the Nürburgring didn't, or the street circuit there in SoCal didn't, but this place is just, it is something else, man.
Yeah, these guys just one right after another, but you know, that's part of the frustration is, and here you go, Austin. I'll let you have the floor here with this in car.
Yeah, you can see how much he is dancing, playing with the steering wheel. Fast left-hander there, going to swing out all the way to the right, halfway across the track, right over that white line. Then there's a grate here on the right side of the track. You try to put your right side tires on that grate, all the way over to the left side of the track, then back to the right, back to the left here before you go down the hill. And extremely, this is one of the hardest complex of corners on the entire racetrack because you're going downhill, you're braking as you go back, left, right, left. Try to keep the car over here on the right as much as you can for this left-hander here. Tuck it in. So easy to go too far to the left and just brush your left front against that inside wall, and you have to put the power down really early as you can for this super long backstretch here. You can see there's the sign halfway down the backstretch. You go up the hill, crest it. After this, you get a really good idea of where the next corner is. You're going to see Kyle go all the way out here to the left just to widen the track as much as possible, back to the right, and then bring the car as far to the right as you can to make sure you set yourself up really good for that left-hander, and then just paint the curb on the right-hand side before you go back to the left. And now just get the car over to the right-hand side of the track. This corner extremely crucial for if you just put down a flyer of a lap, you need to nail this one too, because so many times have I put together a quote-unquote lap of the gods just to mess it up there in the final corner. And thank you, Daniel, so much for that camera angle. That is just the commitment required for these drivers to put down fast lap times. And speaking of fast lap times, Kyle Boss continues to catch up to those two drivers just up the field.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time to get there, and we've seen the 2 seconds evaporate when pit stops happen too. So we've seen that go either way. So a lot of racing to be had here at Mount Panorama, better known as Bathurst.
Back further in the field overall in the AM category, Eli Sasek has about an 8-second lead over Aaron Beaver. In the Pro-Am category, it's Blake Scott with 2.5 seconds over Kyle Smith. Then it's Rich Calais in the third position, additional 2.4 seconds back, and then Mark Scott another 1.5 seconds back. So things are starting to get a little bit wider in some areas of the racetrack, and things continue to get closer and closer in other sections.
We're looking out of the back at Chase Wilson, and Ethan Bass is still just there stalking his prey, I guess you could say. Hasn't really given up any, and he closes up on him now and starting to put pressure on him coming through this final corner before we go through this long stretch here.
Yeah, and I think the most unfortunate thing here as well for Ethan, he had a really good long run car, but remember back to the end of the first race, John, Chase Wilson was part of that, a duo of drivers catching up to that trio that continued to battle, and part of that was Harry Wills, kind of the leader of that choo-choo train, going a lot slower than I'm sure all those drivers would have wanted to. But Chase Wilson has another really good long-run car, and all you need to do at this track, clean air, is absolutely everything. You can put down what kind of lap times you want, just to have another car in front of you and follow them that closely. If you think you can't figure out what turn is coming up next with clean air, try to do it with a car that's maybe like 6 feet off the nose of yours.
Yeah, and these guys are coming up on a lap car too, so depending on where they can catch them, that could also wreak havoc with these two. As they go up and down the mountain, it looks like where they're going to catch them is somewhere on that mountain.
Yeah, that's Kai Diel. He does have a considerable, I don't think too much damage on this race car. Luckily for him, I don't know how he did it. He manages to stay on the lead lap just for now. He shouldn't be a lot slower than these guys. But yeah, anytime you need to pass a car, especially on Bathurst. Oh, he pitted already. That's why. Okay. Could have swore he towed after he spun out there. Oh, he touched the wall there just a little bit. Doesn't look like it's too damaging to his race car. Kind of twitchy though through those fast left-handers.
Yeah, but Austin, from the car, being in the seat, when you tap a wall, the sound it makes and what you feel on that wheel, you're nervous for the next couple of corners.
Oh yeah, especially hitting the right side like that. I mean, it's just a tap. You feel it in the wheel. You hear it in your ear. You hear just that sound of metal just like clicking back and forth that portion, and you're like, geez, I just messed up this race car. Something else, man. And you just fully expect when you turn the wheel to go in that fast left-hander, you're either going to spin out and eat wall or go to the outside and eat sand.
Yep, and we're just not smart enough to take it easy through there, Ethan.
No, we're
That-
not.
that's the big part of that problem in that equation there. But looks like that little tap there probably didn't hurt him too bad.
No, it certainly didn't. Chase Wilson continues to get closer and closer, but I don't think it's going to matter too much for right now. I think Kai DL was plenty fast enough, and we've seen it before too. Kai has had a damaged race car. He is respectful enough to kind of realize the leaders are coming up on him, and there is a race going on, but he's not quite in it for right now. So he will usually pull over to the side of the track, and to his credit, he didn't really lose a whole lot of time, maybe a couple tenths or so. He has the pace of the leaders. I heard one car go down onto pit road. I have a strong suspicion it was Harry Wills. It was not. It was Jeremy Littleton, last car on track in the pro category. Well, I should say the main grouping of cars in the pro category.
Well, this is early to pit, so maybe he's trying that undercut you talked about earlier, and that'd be a good time, I guess, to explain how that works there, Austin.
Yeah, so with these cars anymore in the GT3 spec, you no longer need to fuel and do the tires on the cars at different times, so you can bring your car down on the pit road, give yourself just enough gas to finish the race, and if you so choose, take tires. That's why we see a lot of drivers taking tires, and with the advantage of those new tires, you get to go faster a little bit earlier before everyone else can in the race. So you're out there with fresh tires. All your competitors out there are on older tires, so more often than not, you see it as a Formula One tactic. Sometimes it rears its head in NASCAR and IndyCar. Even IMSA, you'll see it as well. Eli Sasek continues to dominate here the AM category. Aaron Beaver, 9.2 seconds back. Another look at his onboard here.
Man, he is concentrating really hard, as he should be. Got trouble on the right, trouble on the left if you put the tire wrong right through this section. He's been doing a really nice job here tonight.
Yeah, he's been doing phenomenal. Fastest car hands down in the AM category. Just barely lost out in the 25-minute race earlier tonight by having to come down pit road to do a splash and go. Need a little bit extra fuel in the car. So hopefully for his sake, he figured that whole thing out. Car see he's approaching. That's one of the pro drivers. That's Jeremy Littleton, who came down into the pits. Looking here, Ethan Bass still in that second position. Kyle Boss continues to get closer and closer to those drivers, now 2.1 seconds behind. To be honest, though, he's not quite catching him at the rate I figured he would. They finally caught up to and have now passed Kai DL. Back in line here. Talk about
nice
sportsmanship.
Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say, sportsmanship. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Over to the side of the track there just to let the leaders of the race by, and it didn't really cost him a whole lot of time as well, so good heads-up driving there by Kai as well. Kyle Boss continues to catch these drivers. Harry Will's doing a good job as well. His tires have not quite fallen off the same way they did in that 25-minute race, and we're about 21 minutes into this race, and this is well into when we saw Harry Wills just dirt tracking it around this place.
This is a dirt track specialist. This is not a track I would want to be dirt tracking around on.
Harry Wills, I'm starting to look at his car now. Just some hints here and there. Oh, we got the wall just a little bit. I think that might have upset the car. Hopefully it's still in one piece for him. You might see him finally start to fall back just a little bit more and more as the race continues to go on. Here's a quick replay. Looking at Rich Calais. Whoa, big moment there for him as he's tried to go up to crest the hill. We'll see if he can save this. Is he one of that statistic of the 99 out of 100? No, he's another one of those 1 out of 100. That was a phenomenal save there. Usually when you pop that curb, that car lands and it is not going the direction you want, and you find yourself in one wall. Yeah, that was a big moment for him and an even bigger save.
Shows you the talent level here in this series. I mean, we've seen a couple guys now do that. And, as far as I knew before this, the guys that could do that were far and few between. But we've got them here, evidently.
Certainly do. Kyle Boss continues to get closer and closer. He gained a half a second there on Chase Wilson on that last lap alone. Here's another replay. This is Justin Rousseau. Good to see him back out on track, catching the outside wall just a little bit. And I think he's going to realize that just taking the required repairs was not enough to fix that car. So he'll have to go back down pit road, trying to come back out here just to get points. You might be wondering, why is he out there with a car that isn't perfect? You need to run 50% of the race distance in order to score points, and that's what he was out there trying to do.
Hey, Austin, I have a question here on these long races like that, you know, focus. You know, what do you do? I know what I do with these, if I'm in a longer race, but these tight quarters, what do you do to maintain that focus? Because here, if you lose that focus even for just a millisecond, you can get yourself in trouble.
Well, I'll start with the easiest distraction on the face of the earth. The cell phone. I'm a zoomer. It's in my hand almost all the time, as much as I hate to say it. I hide that thing. I put it on something. I set it to do not disturb. I don't even want to know about it or look at it until I'm done with my stint. Oh, Kai DL there, off in the grass just a little bit, letting Kyle Boss by. Good, another good moment of heads-up driving for him. You can see there's the gap now. It's under a second between Ethan Bass and Kyle Boss. He's getting closer and closer in that rear view, starting to get to that do or die time for Ethan. Back to your question though, John, the second thing I do, I've kind of just realized my attention span's like an hour and a half. If it's anything over an hour and a half, I start to get distracted. So trying to limit myself to 2-hour stints. As much as I hate to say it, full-grown adult, best I can do is about an hour and a half. If I really push myself, maybe I can get to 2 hours, but it's just trying to tune out all the distractions and trying to keep your composure here, especially at a racetrack like this where just a momentary lapse of concentration can put you in the pits for 11 to 20 minutes on a good day.
Yeah, for me, I will actually lean forward in the seat or a little bit and try to stretch. If there's like areas on the track like this long straightaway they just came on, that's what I do, is try to stretch a little bit and then hunker back down as I get into the mountain section. You know, when we did Nürburgring a few weeks ago, that Castle straightaway, man, I love that because I can stretch my fingers and kind of move around. Man, if it wasn't for that, holy cow, that'd be difficult.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine running a track like the Nordschleife without that long straight there down the backstretch. Looking here at Matthew Plaisance in the 5th position, 7 laps down overall. Looks like he'll be out on track just in time, hopefully for his sake, to score points in this thing. Yeah, 16 and a half minutes in the pits there for Matthew. But the other part of that too, John, and unfortunately as sim racers, even real life, we don't think about it enough. You got to stay hydrated. That's where sometimes that long straightaways really come into play. Good opportunity to kind of reach over and grab a sip of water. As you can see, all the leaders, the 3 in our pro category, passing a lap car now, and driver Greg Brockway. And it's incredible. They're so much faster, but all 3 of them went over to just to try to sniff a little bit of draft there off the car at Greg Brockway.
And that works. Works in real life, works in the sim world. You might pick up an extra mile or two, just, you know, sliding on over, getting behind that car for maybe that 2 or 3 seconds that you can get that tow. And that can make a big difference. It really, really can.
Unfortunate update though for you folks at home in the Pro-Am category. We saw him get in the wall a couple more times. The last one is what did it for him. Justin Risteau has mainly disconnected from the racing session, so unfortunately for him, looks like it will be a pretty light point day for him.
Tough break, and you got to bounce back and put it behind you, though. That's one of the things you got to have a short-term memory when you have races.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate as well. The last 2 rounds of the season cannot be dropped. There are more points on offer, though. There's still a lot of opportunities. Kyle Boss continues to close in with 9/10 of a second, the gap between he and Ethan Bass. The last time we talked about it, he continues to get closer and closer. And oh, by the way, Harry Wills still sticking with him. And we are officially past the halfway point here, so I would say the pit window definitely it's open more than it is closed for these drivers who still have yet to pit.
So the big question now is going to be who blinks first and heads to pit road.
Right now, I tell you what. Oh, Harry Wills might have scraped the wall a little bit there. I tell you what, if I'm Ethan Bass or Kyle Boss, I'm going to come into the pits as early, like right now, maybe to get some clean air. Harry Wills, same opportunity, might be able to change the tires on that thing and put down some fast laps. And we saw just how well he was able to drive defensively and hold on to that position for the last 8 minutes of the 25-minute race. So see if any of our top 3 drivers here come down pit road. The best opportunity you have, if you're the last driver in line, come down pit road and help the drivers in front of you do not. If you're any of the drivers in second, third right here, if you see Chase go down into the pits, go right there with him.
Yeah, but you pointed out having that clean air for an extra lap or so, maybe you can jump around them. Now there you go. You got
Yeah,
two in.
Bass and Boss go down into the pits. Harry Wills, another driver, electing to stay out there. And you can see those guys really cutting the track any way they could to try and take the feet off the pit entry there.
I forgot until I saw that shot just how hard that pit road is to get onto.
Oh, it's extremely sketchy. And just like the Dukes of Hazzard, man, you got to straighten the curves.
Yeah, the problem is I don't have the talent to do that. I've gotten myself in trouble trying to do that before.
Boy, I have sped on pit road multiple times in that situation. That's just how it is. So they're now on pit road. This is looking here at Jeremy Littleton, running around in 5th place in that pro category. You can see there goes Ethan Bass and Kyle Boss off pit road. Just the same order they came onto it. So it looks like for Jeremy Littleton, the undercut for his sake was a little bit unsuccessful, unfortunately. But just still out there having a good shot, good points day for Jeremy, just trying to score laps, you know.
The big question with the undercuts from Ethan Bass and Kyle Boss, what is that going to look like once pit? Where do they come out at? Yeah, the big question is going to be, like I said, where do they come out when they when the top 2 here in the pro category, Wills and whatnot, when they pit?
Yeah, we're going to see here in a couple minutes Kyle Boss. You see him now in the 4th position. He kind of gave away that 2nd spot to Harry Wills. 3rd spot, I should say, to Ethan, who gave away 2nd to Harry Wills. And those guys, I'm really curious to see just how hard they're pushing themselves right here. Jace Wilson looking at his car as well. He stays out on the racetrack, so he's trying to go for an overcut strategy here. And there is some smartness to this. Run the car all the way out of fuel, get some faster lap times there, especially down the straights, a lighter car.
Yeah, the other thing I'm looking at here, right now, Ethan Bass is 9/10 of a second up on Kyle Boss. When they went into pit road, they were bumper to bumper. So Ethan got in and out much better than Kyle. Now I'm wondering if that 2/10 is going to be enough to overtake and propel him into the lead.
I'm curious. I mean, we'll have to see, keep our eyes on it here. I'm curious as well to see when Harry Wills might come down on the pit road. Sorry, Daniel? Oh, Kai DL had an accident. See, that's why he's down in the pits once more. Very unfortunate for him. Should still have a pretty good shot at completing half the race laps, though. That's how you score points. He's one of our drivers, very much still in the points championship.
Well, Ethan Bass has caught a lap car at one of the worst possible places. I'm telling you. I don't even know if the lap car can even get out of his way until they get to the bottom of the hill.
I mean, if they do, it's kind of one of those situations where both drivers need to understand what's going on. And unfortunately, there really is no place to pass. You can go to the outside, but usually it's a monkey see, monkey do thing. It looks like he's going to try to stay over one side of the racetrack, and Ethan's going to pick up on that. We'll see if Kyle can take advantage. He's going to have the inside there. Good heads-up driving there. I believe that was Blake Scott. Letting both of those drivers on by. Oh, Chase Wilson and Harry Wills now into the pits. Quick replay here. This is Kaidiel. We're going to see what's taking him basically the rest of the way out of contention. Going into turn 1. What? I don't think he hit the wall. I think he just kind of realized he was halfway through the race. He completed half the race lap. Maybe that was him pulling off. So we'll see. There's Ethan Bass and Kyle Boss. They're fastly approaching our leaders here. We'll see if they can get off pit road. I think this undercut might work. It's going to be close. Chase Wilson, Harry Wills continue to sit there. Chase finally moving. They've already passed him. Undercut worked a treat.
It worked for both of them too.
But now comes the interesting part. Can the better tires on Chase Wilson or Harry Wills try to help propel them past those two drivers up in front? I don't expect it will, but anything can and will happen. We've continued to see, John, these 50-minute endurance races here always are they're surprising at the end, and boy, are they fun to watch.
Well, I'd be curious. I don't know if we have a way to tell, but did they take tires? Did any of the top 4 take the tires? You know, but the thing is even so, the 2 that just came out of the pits, they were in the pits, so their tires cooled, so they're gonna have a couple laps, but they're probably gonna be able to at least have a little more grip than the front 2 now have.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent point there. See, riding on board once again with Harry Wills. You can see him using his triples. Another one of our drivers carrying our onboard camera. To see that. Going back just to see if either of our front 2 drivers went in the air. No, they did not. I think they just took gas and went. So I think all the undercut from that is just the clean air of not having a slower driver in front of you. No tires there, at least for Ethan Bass, for sure.
Yeah, I remember I said, you know, that 2.5 second gap. When you look at it now, Wilson is now just over 2.5 seconds back. So complete reversal that has happened here. Wills is coming back. I wonder if he had a speeding
Harry Wills. That's a big moment for him.
I wonder if he had a speeding penalty and had to do a drive-through.
Yeah, he must have. He went in there a lot hotter than Chase Wilson. He gained on him in a hurry.
Wow.
That is a big surprise there.
And he's not turning in, at least he hasn't yet. Let's see. Yep, there he goes into his stall. Well, as we said earlier, Austin, that undercut that Littleton tried, it worked.
Further up the track, though, we continue to keep our eyes locked on this battle here. This is the lead in the Pro category and the race overall. Ethan Bass continues to hold it over Kyle Boss. I couldn't imagine a better battle. In the last race, Ethan qualified on pole, overtook it in turn 1, and that's what allowed for Kyle to get by. Now Ethan, fastest qualifier on the day, has the lead. We'll see if Kyle can manage his tires better or just wait for a mistake here out of Ethan in the last 15 minutes of this race.
This is the closest battle on the track here, and then these guys, it's getting down to it now. We're about 13 minutes left to play, so not a whole lot of time to get for Kyle Boss to make something happen here. He is going to have to get up on it here and try to, at least, if he's not willing to throw in a haymaker to try to pass, but at least start applying that pressure, see if Ethan will make that mistake here in the closing laps.
Yeah, we'll see if he opens the door for him in any way, shape, or form. There's Chase Wilson there in the background, the last car on the podium for the Pro category. Got about 12 minutes or so left here in the race overall. Hard to believe 37 minutes have already passed.
Yeah, it really has. I had to look at it twice to make sure I read that right. But Guess that happens. I thought there'd be a lot more, have a lot more dodgy moments going on here, but these guys, again, the talent level have just really been on it here, and all 3 classes, just not the pros.
You saw there a couple minutes ago, Harry Wills back out of the pits. Luckily for him, the only barrier he hit was tires. He bounced back off of it. Not a whole lot of damage done to that Mercedes. So he's back out on the racetrack, but that would indicate to me, John, I think you're right, speeding penalty for him.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. You've succumbed to that a couple of times here. So I forgot whose in car we saw going to pits. I completely forgot how hard this pit road is to get in on.
And not just that, too. I mean, it's so hard to extract the maximum amount of time out of that area of the track as well. It's not something you practice very often. You can see just how close these guys are getting to either side of the wall.
And they do it lap after lap after lap, and they do it with precision, and it's so impressive to watch.
And this is for all the marbles too. It's hard to imagine that we've only got one more week of racing after the conclusion of tonight's affair. See Kyle Boss getting really, really closer to Ethan Bass, thinking about making a move here into the fast left-hander. It's better of it. This is him right now, just trying to get in the head there of Ethan. I think he knows he can't really make a move right now. You just got to stalk him. Wait for him to make a mistake. Let the race come to you. Good points day already. You don't need to ruin it by making some sort of an ill-timed move.
No, and sometimes, you know, your appetite gets bigger than your stomach, and that's what you got to really avoid here. Make sure that you're very measured. You still got time. I mean, 10 minutes is plenty of time. Leader is right out in front of you where you can touch him. So right now, I think for Kyle, I think it's all about figuring out where you're better than Ethan is on the track, and then applying that pressure to see if he can get him to start making mistakes maybe in that section that you feel particularly strong in.
It just, to me, it always seems that Kyle is a lot faster in the braking zones of all these corners. That's where he gains a lot of time, and I think that's where he gains time over a lap compared to what Ethan does. Oh, Harry Wills getting word that he just had an accident on the track. So it looks like Jeremy Littleton more solidly now into that 4th position here in the pro category. Another close battle going on the track. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen all those intervals. Kyle Smith is pretty close to the back end there of Rich Goulet. Those two battling for the 2nd position in the Pro-Am category. But this battle here for the lead in the pro category continues to be the closest and the hottest. In case you folks at home are curious or maybe aren't aware or don't remember from the last time we talked about it here on the broadcast, the way SDK does those timings on the left-hand side of the screen, those are the intervals from one driver to the next, and those are all in categories, so one at a time, all different from one driver to the next. White font means it's over a second. A yellow font means it's anywhere between 1/2 and 1 whole second. And the orange font, anything below that, anything half the second, is the orange font. Quick replay here for you. This is a look at what took Harry Wills there out of competition. A little bit of a moment here for him. Yep, up over that and into that wall there on the right-hand side. And back across the track into the left, and that's just how easy it is. 3 spins. Does he go for 4? He does. How about a high 5? I'll count that. High 5.
Yeah, count it. Yep. Yeah,
and then in the wall, tries to keep the car going, but that thing is just a foobar, we'll say. There's a clean word for you.
Yeah, and that'll add to the list of many cars that part of the track has destroyed over the years. That's for sure.
Ethan Bass continues to hold the lead here over Kyle Boss in the pro category. About 8 minutes left. I would say that's about 3 or 4 laps here before the end of the race. Time is ticking down. Pay window is open. not only are there points on the line, I'm sure Kyle Boss, Ethan Bass would love to come out of this race with a lot of points here, especially to capitalize on the poor day, we'll call it, that Harry Wills is having. Hard to call a third and then a fourth place, or fifth place, excuse me, a poor day. But when it comes down to championships at the end of the season like this, when the points are so tight, that's all it takes.
Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot. This track doesn't really give a whole lot, so really tough, tough next to the last race that we've got here, that's for sure.
We have a replay on deck for you, but we're going to wait until after we see, I think, if Ethan does anything right here, has a pass made on him by Kyle, it's going to happen. Oh, Kyle again, thinking better of it. This might be another situation too, John, where you just see Kyle maybe break a little bit later and wait for a late move and just hope to bait Ethan into overdriving the corner. It's hard to do it, but if you do it right, it makes the pass way easier.
Boy, Kyle is on his bumper.
There's another replay as well. So 2 replays here. We get a second. Harry Wills back out on track. This is another replay of what took out. Yeah, boy, to throw the car up in the air like that, that is a hard hit. And you can see just why he's unable to get that car off the wall there. Left front steering definitely messed up on that car. I believe Kyle Smith had an incident as well. That's why you see him in the pits there on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll get to that replay in just a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how much of this, you know, you touched on it earlier about the fatigue factor. You know, the track where you have such a minor, you know, area of error that you can make. You really can't make any of those. You've got to focus so hard. I just have to wonder if fatigue isn't now starting to creep into this a little bit.
Here's another replay here. This is Kyle Smith. We talked about how close he was to the rear end there of Rich Calais. Goes up and over that curb on the right-hand side of the track and then hard into the wall on the left side, and that's going to put him in the pits for sure. That's his day done. Such a shame for him, too. He was right. He was catching up to Rich Calais. That was going to be a good battle. But yeah, John, you talk about the fatigue. This is a racetrack where I don't care how long you race here. If you're in a competitive environment like this, you get done, you get out of the car, out of the sim rig, we'll say. And when I do one of these races, my nerves are absolutely shot, especially after a longer race like this. I need like at least a half hour to an hour to just compose myself again, because it's crazy just what it takes out of you to need this much concentration for this long amount of time. Not to mention, there's that physical aspect of it as well.
Yeah, that's what I like. Like I said, I kind of figure that that's probably kind of what's going into it, because I mean that minimal loss of just awareness or focus or whatever, that's all it takes. And the next thing you know, you've ran a foot or two wide in one of these corners, especially up on that mountain, either going up it or going down it. And a foot, that's the difference between smacking the wall really hard and getting through there cleanly with a really good run.
Riding on board here with Kyle Boss. Listen to the sound of that Mercedes. Very few better sounding cars here on the iRacing platform than just a loud, low hum of a V8. It's really close. You can see both these guys dancing around on the racetrack, and how much wheel input these guys are having to put into their race cars right now. It's the end of the race. The track is cooling off, but you usually build these cars to handle some of the hottest temperatures on this track. So once it cools down, you'd think the cars would handle better, and they do to some degree, John. The tires get a little bit more grip, but it really just depends which tires grip up better than the others. That's what's going to change the handling effect on the cars the most.
And how much you've used them early on in the run, because remember, these guys have been out now on these tires for a long time. So if they put a lot of wear in them back when the track was hot, yeah, the track might be a little bit cooler, but that grip's not coming back.
Kyle Boss continues to stalk Ethan Bass for right now. This is the battle in the pro category. See, these guys are absolutely flying down this back straightaway. Just before they get on the brakes, they're doing about 170 mile an hour here if you use the Freedom units.
There you
There he
go.
goes. Move up the inside. We'll see if Ethan has anything to challenge. Or can Kyle pull away?
And is that going to be a white flag when we come around?
No. No,
Two.
it should be 2 laps to go. These guys are pulling 2-minute 2s, so if they were crossing here about 20 seconds from now, this would be the white flag. So Ethan is going to have a little bit here if he wants to try and mount any sort of a challenge back at Kyle, but I think Kyle's just a little bit too fast for him right now. Especially, and I say that too, just because when you follow somebody like that for as long as you do, and when you do mess up or you try to make a move and you think better of it, you back out of it, you lose a couple tenths. He was on his back bumper right again after such a short amount of time. Ethan's going to be able to stick with him, I reckon, but I think Kyle should be able to pull away.
Yeah, and the one thing that Kyle now, you hit a great point about following him. So he was using Ethan's braking points and all that. Well, now he doesn't have anybody in front of him to go off. This is where you can actually open yourself to a mistake, is because all of a sudden you're going off your braking points, not somebody else's.
He continues to stretch out that gap, though, as they go up the hill. We'll see if anything the same can happen going down. I tell you what, for as much as he was doing better than Ethan going into the corners, he still is, but Ethan has gotten a lot better at breaking into these corners and trying to make sure that Kyle doesn't pull away. And now he's kind of taken away Kyle's one large advantage. Looks like Kyle's got some fans in the chat.
They've got to be going crazy here with that pass that he just had, and he's able to hold on to it here. And Ethan's really not mounting a big challenge back to him yet.
Now he's getting a little bit of a slipstream here going down the back straightaway. Don't think he's going to be quite close enough to shove the car. He's going to make a look at the inside. Thought about it. Man, Kyle left him a lot of room. That's a lot of respect to give a guy that much room when he made a move that late from that far back. And good, clean racing to him, and Ethan didn't send the car in there and take him out, so both cars on the absolute limited grip. White flag will be in the air this time by. This is the final lap. Kyle has it all up to him. Race is in his hands. Ethan has the opportunity to steal that win back from him. So as they rocket towards turn 1 for the final time, and this corner is uphill. Lots of opportunities to break late into this corner because you're uphill. Gravity is with you when you're trying to stop the car. Looking here, Blake Scott, he's going to take the white flag in the Pro-Am category. He's got about a 19.5 second lead, so he's just got to nurse this thing around. Then Eli Sasek in the AM category. He's got about a 17 or maybe 20-second lead, it looks like now, over Aaron Beaver. Hopefully for his sake, he doesn't need to bring the car down pit road this time by. Attention now back to the battle in the pro category. Kyle Boss continues to pull away from Ethan Bass. He now has an advantage of just about a half a second here. Oh, that was a big moment for Ethan.
That cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, a tenth or two, it looks like. It should be at least to Kyle Boss just up the road. As they go down the hill for the final time. And yeah, that additional 2 seconds, that's going to be a lot harder. He caught back up to him for about 3 or 4 seconds. Last lap was close enough to make a move, but I think with that little bit of a slip up there going up the hill, it's probably just going to hand the win now over to Kyle.
Yeah, but Kyle's still got to navigate these last couple of corners. We've seen some guys have some trouble here in these corners. They're not the easiest to get through.
Anything can happen. Internet can blink out, hardware failure, maybe your computer dies on you. Anything can, will, and has happened in these races. He's only got one more corner left before Kyle Boss sweeps the races. He's been dominant, man, really turning up the wick here in the second half of the season. He's going to come off the final corner here and take the checkered flag at Bathurst over Ethan Bass. Fastest lap of the race as well. He was on it that last lap. And Blake Scott, he's only got a couple more corners as well. You see Chase Wilson there coming across the finish line in third to round out the podium for the pro category. And now off the final corner, here's Blake Scott to take the checkered flag for the Pro-Am field. A dominant race victory for him. 20 seconds back here to Rich Calais, just now coming out of the second last corner. Oh, here's another look at Rich's forehead. Sharp looking forehead. He'll cross the start-finish line there in the second position. Now Mark Scott should round out the podium here in the Pro-Am field. Off the last corner, using every bit of the runoff as he can. He will come home in third to round out the podium. He was the last Pro-Am driver to cross the start-finish line, and then John Casey will be the first driver in the M category to cross the start-finish line. He should lock himself here into a third-place position. There you can see Matthew Plaisance out there just completing all the laps he can. Come home in fifth. Now Eli Sasek, just enough gas in that car to come off the final corner and take the checkered flag, able to do what he couldn't in the first race. A whopping 32 seconds over Aaron Beaver. Absolute dominant performance today from Eli. You can see he looks thrilled with that victory. I would be too.
But you said yourself, when you get done with these at this track, you're relieved.
Yeah,
So
maybe I'd at least crack a smile. I mean, come on.
wow, that had a look. That actually had the look of relief.
Yeah, I'll give him
Think
that.
about it. Just think about it. The last one, he had that thing wrapped up, and then he ran out of gas. So
That's true.
that was a relief look.
There's Aaron Beaver and Greg Brockway crossing the start-finish line as well. And without further ado here, we'll run you through the finishing order for all the cars out on track. You just saw it happen. Kyle Boss and Ethan Bass, a phenomenal last couple lap battle there to the stripe. Kyle Boss taking home the checkered flag to sweep both the races today. Good job for him. Good points day as well. Ethan Bass qualified on pole, not quite able to come home with either win tonight, but still good points on the record for him in the 51 car. Chase Wilson rounds out the podium finishers for the pro category with Jeremy Littleton fourth, Harry Wills and Kai DL rounding out the 6-car field for the pros. In the Pro-Am category, Blake Scott takes home the checkered flag over Rich Calais. Second place here today for Rich, with Mark Scott in third, Kyle Smith fourth, and Justin Rousseau in fifth to round out the Pro-Am category. And last but not least, in the Am field, you saw Eli Sasek finally able to hold on, finish one spot better than he did in the 25-minute race earlier today. Aaron Beaver in second, John Casey third, Greg Brockway fourth, Matthew Plaisance comes home in the fifth spot, 8 laps down. And with that, let's see who all is in the waiting for interview booth. Looks like we've got Kyle Boss. We'll bring him back in. Kyle, great opportunity to talk to you again, man. Talk me through the last couple laps. I mean, you were hounding Ethan.
Yeah, that was an awesome race with Ethan. With Ethan, me and him always are pretty competitive. So, and I always can trust him to leave some room, and even if it's only millimeters or pixels, we race pretty hard and pretty fair. So that was fun. It was tough. Not gonna lie, I was sweating there because that incident at the very start my steering was bent for the race. So and you'll see in a couple of the braking zones where I'm just getting wildly sideways because the car I was on a razor edge the whole time with that car because of that damage. But we kept her down. Fuel saved where I could, got the undercut, and of course Ethan beat me out of the pits. Stupid Ford always is good on fuel. So no, overall very happy to get my first double crown, I guess. So yeah,
like you said, man, 2 race victories in the same day. A huge performance, man, as well. But talk me through what was in your mind as you were chasing Ethan there. Was it just wait for him to make a mistake and pounce on him, or were you, I guess, just kind of happy to finish in second place and get good points?
I mean, the points are very tight right now, so I did have the win it or bin it mentality going on. So I was really waiting for him to make a mistake, and he didn't really make a mistake. I guess the only mistake would be was him not shutting the door fast enough on me going through the that. I'm not sure where that corner is, but that downhill sector. So I was able to whittle in there, and then I was just trying to chip away, look for something, keep the pressure on. Really hard to see when there's a car directly in front of you up the hill. So that dirty air with my damage really made it hard to keep up with them. So yeah, it was just a matter of just chipping away and looking for just a little chink in the armor, and that was it. And then he almost got me though. He almost got me again. That was a really awesome send by him. He almost got me. So
Well, buddy, I got some good news for you. Harry Wills has just put in up-to-date points, and I can tell you right now, you are the point leader, exiting
right
Bathurst by
on.
3 points over Harry.
It's a tight window. Tight window.
Still a lot to race for next week. How you feeling about it, you fan?
Sebring's a fun one. I'm ready to go. So
You ready for bumps?
never. We just
Never?
manage.
Yeah. You can't be ready for the bumps. Well, hopefully your steering wheel is straightened for next week because that thing's going to be all over, especially out of Sunset.
Yeah, we'll be doing a little bit of Tokyo drifting around Sunset. So nope. Great job on the broadcast, guys. Thanks for having us. Thanks for being here. It was a lot of fun.
That's no one else you want to thank, man. The floor is yours.
Oh God, gotta thank IMB, Solaritas, the whole team, my buddies. Nolan Duca once again in the chat, just talking their smack as they do. Gotta love them. And you know, parents are watching the broadcast, so hi mom and dad again. So yeah, that's what I got.
That's awesome, man. Love to see it. Congratulations on the win. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good night.
It's Kyle Bosco's back-to-back here in the pro category at Bathurst. And John, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I've caught up with Ethan Bass, and Ethan, man, oh man, I thought you had that thing won again with just stalking your prey and pouncing at the right opportunity, but came up a couple laps short. I know you didn't want that, but tell me, what more did you need to maybe get that win here tonight?
Oh, that was good fun after the chaos. That was the first race where, yeah, that was not a good turn one. We'll just gloss over that. But that was a good race. For me to win that one, I just needed less wing. Maybe I went conservative. I went the same set I used earlier in the year at another big special event, and it's just I couldn't do anything with the slipstream. Kyle just had to pick his moment and go for it. I tried to pick my moment as well on a subsequent lap, but I just couldn't get the cut back out of the chase. So it was all for Kyle to lose there on the last lap. But he did a fantastic job, especially with the damage. His left rear is a bit crumpled, but soldiered on and he did pretty well to win that one.
Well, you kind of, I don't know if you intentionally did the undercut, but it ended up being an undercut there, on the leaders. When you came out, you guys all of a sudden went from being on the bumper to them being a couple seconds behind you. Did that big of a gap surprise you at all?
Yeah, I didn't expect to be that far for a chance. I kind of expected to pass him on the pit exit kind of thing. But if anything, I think the pit stop was shorter than I expected, hence why we got so much of a gap. I wasn't saving a huge amount of fuel behind Chase, but it was a case of there's no point in me lunging. There was no point in me trying to make passes into the Chase kind of thing in the future race. In this kind of scenario, I had the pit stop to go. So it was a case of just save fuel, sit behind. I'm good on fuel. The car is good on its tires, and it was pretty smooth sailing. There was just nothing I could do about a big giant V8 in the front end of that Mercedes to stop from passing me. I could have defended the Chase, but it's a case of if he was going to make the move, then I'm just going to let him. I don't like to over defend. If someone's going to go for the move, I'm going to give them room, and we're going to battle side by side, and that's how it's going to be. The better man will come out on top.
Well, next week is the final race of the season. What are your thoughts going into that one?
Sebring is a track that it's not actually too bad for this car. It's not going to be the best car to beat around Sebring. I haven't got the biggest love affair of the track, but it's a good bit of fun. The big 75-minute race though is perfect for that kind of track. It suits it really well. So I think so long as we get through the likes of Sunset and onto the pits, then we'll do good on strategy, and that's mostly how we'll win it. I don't think I'll win that one on pace. I got pole here because I'll absolutely adore this track. But I don't think I'll have pole at Sebring. If I do, it'll be an utter surprise.
All right, my friend. Well, I can't let you go without you giving you the opportunity to give a shout out to anybody you like here that helps you along the way.
The good boys at Orbit Motorsport letting me run this gorgeous car with likes of Hybrid Tune helping us out behind the scenes with hoping to push forward and help for a cure for likes of Fight Claw, Cancer, and Demon Tweaks Motorsports for also some excellent gloves and extra equipment. Thanks very much. Cheers to you lads for the broadcast. That'll be good fun to watch back.
All right, my friend. Well, go have a pint and get ready for Sebring, and I hope we get to talk to you again before the end of the season there.
I don't know if pints of scotch are something you normally do up in your Scotland, but no, that's
Wow.
scotch. Not,
Yeah.
we don't do pints. That would get me. That would literally put me on the floor.
All right. Have a little scotch and get some rest, man. You got a big week here.
Thanks very much, Lars. I'll catch you at Sebring.
Yes, sir. Have a good night. And Austin, who have you caught up with?
Thanks. We're going to pull Harry Wills up here. Harry, not quite the night you were looking for. It looked like you were really on edge there towards the end of the 25-minute race. And to your credit, you did a much better job at holding on to the tires here for this 50-minute affair, but not quite a good enough job at keeping it out of the wall. This car is very, very tricky around here.
Yeah, I don't think that could have gone worse if we tried. Yeah, I clipped the wall on the first race, sort of on the third or fourth lap, on the second race, sorry. I thought, well, I got away with that one. Then I did it again. I didn't get away with it that time. I bent something and it was crabbing. And then pitted. I had a really poor... They pitted, I think, 3 laps early. And I had a really bad sort of second lap on that. Lost about half a second. And then when I came out the pits, completely forgot to engage my limiter. So I got the speed in pit lane. And then I properly did it. I properly put it away after that. So, yeah, a bit of a disastrous evening, really. So.
Disastrous evening, but you come out of here only 3 points behind a new point leader there in the pro category, Kyle Boss. Heading into Sebring, still some opportunities here for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, Kyle's a... I think I'd have rather had Ethan ahead than Kyle into the Sebring, but yeah, we'll do what we can do. It's going to be hard work. I think is an understatement for that, but we'll put some laps in this week and really try and make it happen. There's 6 points between P1 and P2 for a win in an endurance round, so it's still to play for. And then there's Kai and Ethan are both tied on 449 points as well. So that's to be decided. Yeah, so first, second, and third and fourth are all undecided into the last round, and that would be quite exciting.
Sounds good, buddy. Well, Harry, before I let you go, anyone you have to thank?
Just the ambulance crew out there for getting me out the car nicely. That was good. Didn't have to cut the roof off as well, which is always nice. No, it was, yeah, no, everyone for turning up. Absolutely, you know, the championship wouldn't happen without drivers in it. So, guys that turn up and come and race with us, and obviously you guys, everybody else, Dean, and people who do all the work back, you know, in regards in between the races and sessions and test sessions and everything else. So, yeah, last round it's going to be exciting. Great if we could get a good amount of cars on track and have some fun, but. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I wish I had a better race in that one. I could go into the last one just with a little bit of an edge. Psychological mind games things that I'd be ahead. But yeah, all to play for.
Certainly, man. Well, appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us. Best of luck next week. Still a lot to play for at Sebring, like you said.
Yes, indeed there is. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
That was Harry Wills, driving the number 95 Mercedes. Goes into the championship race next weekend with a 3-point deficit. Eli Sasek now, John?
Yeah, Eli. Hey, guess what? You had enough fuel this time. How'd that feel the second go around there?
It felt pretty good. No issues. I don't think I even got a single incident point or anything of that sort. So, very happy with that. And yeah, I didn't run out of fuel, which was a step forward in the right direction for sure.
Outside the fuel issue, did you change the car in any way? I mean, that's impressive to go through a run like that and not to do it cleanly and not get incident points.
No, I didn't do anything to change the car really. I knew it was good. It was just I had like one mishap besides the fuel incident in the last race, and past that, I mean, there was no changes. I mean, I kept it clean, which was the goal. Nothing went wrong for me. Everything went right, which is a step in a very great step to do to at least be successful at Bathurst. So I mean, I'm super happy with the way everything turned out in that race.
Well, look forward to next week then. Just real quick here, we're headed to Sebring. What are your thoughts on that track?
I don't know it, so it's like one of the only tracks I don't know. I've never taken the time to learn it, so I probably will have to. I will have to take the time to at least learn it. I've tried before and not been successful, so I will have to see. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think I'll do very well, but you at least got to try. So try and put our best foot forward there.
All right, buddy. Well, who would you like to give a shout out for your win here this next for this race here tonight?
Twisted, everybody who runs the show, and then my grandparents, and then I think my mom is watching too. She got after me after that first one, so we'll have to. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right, my friend. Well, good luck in learning the track, and hopefully we talk to you again next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, that's Eli Sasek, and our winner here tonight. And I'll tell you, Austin, who have you caught up with?
Yeah, Blake Scott, winner in the Pro-Am category. Blake, you did a phenomenal job there. Honestly, made it look easy, and that is a true testament to just how much of a big lead you had, because this track is probably one of the hardest on all of iRacing.
This track is definitely one of the hardest, but it is one of my favorites. I love this track. I love the Nürburgring. These technical tracks seem to suit my driving style really well, and I think that showed. I'm happy to come home with another win this week and put the Aerokinetics BMW on the top of the box.
Yeah, winning is always a phenomenal feeling, especially when you can do it at a place like Bathurst. Of course, you come out of here, you do have a 9-point lead over Rich Calais, so a little bit of a I'm going to say a cushion heading into Sebring. Your thoughts there before we get there?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Sebring. It's a track I know really well. Done a lot of endurance racing there. Yeah, I got that 9-point kind of buffer, so just I'm going to play it safe and try and bring the championship home for the team. And yeah.
Sounds good, man. Well, best of luck to you. Hopefully we get to talk to you next week as the champion after that race. But Blake, before I let you go, the floor is yours, man. Thank who you can. Thank who you want.
Yeah, huge thank you to the team. They put together a great group of setups for us. I can't thank them enough. My pops, been practicing all week. The grandparents watching at home, and always thank you so much to you guys. I love watching these races back. It really makes this a lot of fun to do. So thank you guys.
Well, it's even more fun to commentate when you guys give us phenomenal racing like you continue to put out. So congratulations on your win, man, and thank you for taking the time to come up here and talk with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. Have a good night, guys.
That was Blake Scott, winner in the Pro-Am category, and I think, John, you have the opportunity here to chat with Aaron Beaver.
I do. Aaron, this is John up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, sure do.
Hey, buddy, I tell you, you know what? You're going to go into this whole thing and the last week of the season in command of that AM driver championship. What are your thoughts? What's your week going to look like here?
I'm excited. At least I know Sebring. At least I know the track compared to some of these ones that we've been racing earlier in the season. But I'm still going to do the same thing. I'm still going to, practice and, basically, kind of keep doing what I have been doing.
Well, it's an exciting week then for you. I mean, you got, like I said, about a 21-point lead there. So that's a little bit of a buffer for you, but going to a track you like. So sounds like you're confident going into that final round.
Yep. Hopefully I just keep the nerves down, mostly, and try to keep it on the track. And, I think I'll, come out okay. Because I like endurance racing more than the sprint racing. It's just more my style, more the consistency game, that I look for and try to do. So I'm glad for that.
Well, Aaron, I tell you, we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Close this deal out. I think you got it. So real quick, who would you like to give a shout out to for all your great season so far?
Yeah, I want to thank Aerokinetics for letting me drive their car. I especially want to thank my teammates for either helping me with setups, because we've been making last minute changes this week and last week for me to try to help me, and for them being in the Discord and help me, keep me calm during the race. races really. So I really appreciate, them being able to do that.
Well, my friend, we look forward to seeing you next week. Best of luck.
All right. Thank you much.
And Austin, I think that's going to wrap us up here.
Yeah, it certainly will. Great race today here at Bathurst. This place it never disappoints. But just to close up shop, got to thank our sponsors again. Race Anywhere, major distributor of sim racing products based in the UK, specializing in some of the highest quality brands. Go for the Gap. Cami Sturch, up and coming graphic design. Artwork creator, does a lot of motorsport stuff. Go over to her Etsy page again. Go for the Gap on Etsy. Check that out. And last but not least, IMB Racewear. They're a phenomenal company. They offer a huge range of just customizable up to the ninth yard. So go ahead and check them out as well. Link in the description below. And last but not least, on behalf of myself, Austin Belke, John Hine up in the booth, and Daniel Costello behind the scenes, and everyone else, and including you, thank you for watching and have a good night.